The COVID has caused hardship to workers. Don't they have any rights?
Every worker, every individual, whether a citizen of India or anywhere in the world, everyone has a right. The rights are guaranteed in the Constitution. Rights are guaranteed in the custom and practices. As such, no individual is without rights. Now, in a civilized society, these rights are converted into the legal rights. There is no ambiguity insofar legal rights are concerned, because those are defined in the Constitution, as also those are defined in the laws that are made to get those constitutional provisions into practices. You see, following Second World War, all of us had rights, but those were not defined. So in some countries there were more rights, while in other countries there were more human rights violation. And as such, the United Nations in 1945 came out with provisions to bring about a national minimum rights that has to be guaranteed by all the countries of the world, whether developed or underdeveloped. As such, in 1948, almost 30 rights were guaranteed under the United Nations Human Rights Commission. And these rights were to be respected by all the countries in the world. India, for example, is a major beneficiary of these Human Rights Commission's recommendation, because 6 rights that it has given to its citizens all are drawn from these conventions: rights with regard to freedom of association, right with regard to freedom of speech, right with regard to religion, and so on and so forth. Even in the United Nations Human Rights Commission, Article 23.4 relates to freedom of one to belong to union, and as such, unions and being part of union is one of the human rights issues which has to be respected by all countries in the world. So in that context, all the workers, whether migrant, non-migrant, regular, non-regular, they have rights. One are rights as a citizen of a country, other are rights as a workman. And the difference that really happens is that to define a person as a workman, there are certain rules that are framed. And in the context of India, as also in the context of South Asia, one finds difficulty in defining most of the worker in the informal sector as a workman, because most of them do not have legitimate document to show that they are the workmen. And as such, most of the workers, in the case of India, 93% or over, they are devoid of any rights insofar workplace is concerned, because they are not defined as a workman.
Can these rights be withheld?
Well, no rights are absolute. Now, in the case of India, the 6 fundamental rights, these are rights available to everybody, but these are not absolute right. In the name of the social well-being, the government may decide to withhold one or other rights. For example, the COVID-19 has led to large number of deaths, and the pace of the spread of this virus is so much that there was need to restrict the movement of people from one place to another. And as such, the government, under under an act brought out in 1897, they restricted the movement of people and brought a lockdown of the whole country. Their rights can be violated, but there has to be legitimate reason for that. In the context of COVID, what we find that on one side people were not allowed to move, on other side shops and factories were closed. So they neither had the opportunity to go back to their houses to look for their livelihood, nor they found any reason to stay there, because the factories were closed, the main source of livelihood were closed. So this was a clear violation of human right. And as such, because human right implies that no one should be allowed to work forcefully. I give you another example. That recently some of the states have withdrawn the facility with regard to return of the workers to their state of permanent residence. And this was violative of the right, because under the United Nations Human Rights Commission, and as also ILO's convention, as also national constitution, forced labor is not permissible. So when you are one is forced to stay at one place, it implies that there was a notion of forced labor, which is not acceptable under the constitution of the Indian.
What is the future of these rights post COVID-19 era?
I think we need to visualize what will be the post-19 era. The present indication, there are few indicators, main indicators in the present scenario. One, that you find that people are trying to move back to the place of their permanent residence. And that is because of fear and insecurity they faced at the workplace. The second thing is that the employer has been given directive that they cannot bring more than 33% of their existing labor at the workplace, which means that there will be situation where not everyone will be employed, as also there will be not everybody will return to their place of work. So there will be major labor right inequilibrium in the country. You will have people without jobs, and if I give you the current figure, according to official statistics, the current unemployment has gone up to 25%, and it may go much higher. The report has said that by July it may reach up to 30%, 27 to 30% of unemployment. So these are the scenario where you find that on one side the people are going back to their places and they is not sure whether they will come back. On the other side, the employer has been asked to reduce their workforce because they want to maintain social distancing. There is also talk about, and in fact about 5 to 6 states, they have already said that they are going to increase the number of working hours from 8 hours to 12 hours. This is a clear violation of very first ILO Convention number 1, which says that the work should not be, daily work should not be 8 hours, and it has medical reason, which was explained as early as in 1919. Now, if we look at the post-COVID period, so you have on one side you have that the factories are not able to employ everybody. On the other side, you have the labor all the labor has not come to its workplace. So there will be major inequilibrium in the labor market, and as such there will be tendency to bring in more technology at the workplace, and also there will be more bifurcation of production plants. There will be increasing number of micro and small enterprises, which again were earlier based upon the supply of labor of contract and casual laborers, migrant workers. Now they will not have it. There will also be problem with regard to agriculture and building and construction industry. Till today, agriculture is not defined as an industry, and as such, most of the agriculture workers are devoid of any right because it's not defined as an industry. Building and construction industry is also major employer of the migrant and casual and contract workforce or undocumented workers. There also we will find that there is a major slowdown of the construction industry, and as such there will be tendency with regard to either forced labor or use of technology in that case. So in future we will find that there will be increasing capital intensive production. That is one thing. Second, the conventions that has been adopted over the last century or so, it will be challenged by one or other because it will become almost practical. And in fact, in the case of India and any other developing countries, what the other speakers talk about the new normal. It has been new normal in India all these years. You have 90% with no rights being respected, 97% of enterprises who do not know what are the rights of the workman, and as such, in the future, when again you will have majority of the unskilled workers, majority of undocumented workers, major contract casual workers, rights will be a major ensuring right will be a major challenge because there will be dilution in employer and employee relation. So on one side, of course, the global north says that it's a new normal, but countries like India, countries like any developing country, it is business like any other day, that we will only move from one situation to another situation, and there you will find that the majority of the undocumented workers are devoid of any rights. What will really change? What will really change in the case of developing country is that there will be smaller unit. There will be smaller unit, and which means that many of these workers will turn into own account entrepreneur, manufacturers of small units. There will be increase in craftsmanship, and there will be increase in small enterprises in the rural areas. So rural economy will be again back into prominence. And what Gandhiji or Schumpeter proposed, that a country where population is high, the preference should be towards the small and micro enterprises, so that the job is always at the focus. Even ILO in its declaration on future of work has said that all the future development has to be such that it places human at the center of development. And again, the UN Sustainable Development also says that everyone, the last person, should be included in all the development of any nation at any place.